Hey everybody, what's up? Long time no see. I want to talk about my experience learning Japanese as a beginner today. I thought that would be a fun thing to talk about. Um, I have intentionally titled this video My Experience Learning Japanese as a Beginner on purpose because there's a lot of how to videos, how to learn methods. The Japanese language learning community has a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of people, which is great, but there's also a lot of hucksters and a lot of you have to do things this way and that way, and people who, shall I say, maybe aren't really qualified to be saying that. I'm certainly not. I'm a beginner. I'm not qualified to teach in any means, by any means, and nor am I really cognizant of like what goes into teaching Japanese. So I simply wanted to make it clear before the video that this is just me explaining what I do. Because when I started out, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what resources were good or what resources there were. And I've kind of found what works for me, and it's always different for other people. But yeah, I wanted to go through kind of how I study, like my schedule or what I do, and then what resources I use and some thoughts on that. I'm a total beginner. I started learning about 2 years ago, back in January of 2023, actually. And I don't know why I started learning, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I took a very, very long break, which of course is not a good idea. I don't, but yeah, I guess so. Recently, I got back into it, and I'm just having a lot of fun and progressing, and it's a blast. So, anyways, I always start my day out. Well, first off, let's say like if you wanted to start learning Japanese, let's start there. Some resources that worked. So I would always recommend starting out learning the kana, the two syllabaries, hiragana and katakana. I don't think you need to worry about kanji at the start. That comes later. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. There's books you can get. There's a website, Tofugu, or I think that's how it's pronounced or how it's spelled. And they have an app, like a program for learning the kana that can quiz you. For me, I got they use like a mnemonic system to learn all the characters. You associate the characters with like little pictures, and not all of them worked for me, but it helped me kind of like remember them. And I used Anki. You've probably heard of Anki. If you haven't, it's an SRS, which is a spaced repetition system. I always say syndrome, not, but it kind of is a syndrome, if you know what I mean. And that's basically what Anki does. Is it's a flashcard system, and it shows you flashcards. You all know how that goes. Um, but it uses like an algorithm to determine which ones you're good at remembering, which ones you're not. It's very customizable. So, and you do have to, be truthful. Like you're the one inputting if you got it right or not. But it's really, really good at remembering what you're not good at and showing it to you in reviews. And it has helped me learn vocabulary words and kanji and grammar points as well, so well. I would be pretty much useless without Anki. It's, in my opinion, one of the best things you can use. And it's useful for all other things as well. Medical students use it to learn large amounts of terms. But yeah, they have a deck, and it's the same thing as their website. You can find that if you search for it. And I used that. It had the pronunciation of each character, and I would do that until I pretty much got it down. And it doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long. It takes a few days at most. I mean, really, like if you're determined, you could learn the kana in a day. Really, it's not hard at all. And then I used a site called Kana Pro, which it gives you like a little test, and I would do that every day after I did my reviews in Anki, and until I like really felt like I could just identify every character instantly. And eventually, you won't need to go do Kana Pro or anything like that anymore. You won't need to really do your reviews in Anki for your Kana. You'll know them, but my long-winded point is that I highly recommend that you do that first because most textbooks, if you choose to go that route, really most resources, other than off the top of my head, I think it's called Japanese from Zero, which very gradually introduces the kana to you. You're going to need to know it, so you might as well just learn it so that you know it, and then you can start practicing writing it, which is really fun. So I do Anki first. I'll always watch some Japanese television when I wake up. I like to watch the news. We'll get into that in a little bit as well, like listening practice. I don't really understand most of it, but I think it's good to listen to, and it's just enjoyable, you know. So I like to do that. Then I do Anki. I do vocabulary words as well as kanji. Sometimes we'll get into that as well. And then I go and I do my textbook. There's a bunch of different resources for learning grammar. There's like the Tai Kim Grammar Guide. There's Cure Dolly, which is a YouTube channel, very, very popular. She explains things in a somewhat unique way, but in a way that is often very clear and understandable. Um, there's a bunch of different resources. A lot of people use textbooks, and for me, I have found using a textbook to be the absolute best method. Don't get me wrong, like no one loves studying, but I don't find doing these textbooks boring. They're fun to do, especially in the beginning, right? When everything's new and exciting. So then you have to choose what kind of textbook you're going to use if you go that route. The two big ones that I have experience with at least would be Genki, which is right here. This is Genki. This is the first volume. It's orange. The second volume is green. That's so you know if you're going to buy this, get the orange one. Don't buy the green one first. And also with with Genki comes a workbook. We'll get into that too. Another really good textbook is Tobira. It's called Tobira Beginning Japanese, and that's a newer-ish textbook. People keep saying it's brand new, but it came out like 4 or 5 years ago. There's a book called Tobira. I think it's called Gateway to Advanced Japanese, and that's a old tried and true intermediate book that people often use or have used when they finish Genki 1 and 2. There's quite a big jump from what I hear between the books. But Tobira, or whoever produces it, has gone on to make beginner books. And just like Genki, there's 2 volumes. I do have experience with that book. I've done a couple of lessons, about 3 or 4 lessons out of it. And honestly, I would say pick your poison. Tobira is a little more updated. It's a little newer in the things they talk about. They talk about like social media and more modern topics, and they teach you pitch accent, which is nice. Which, if you're brand new, you probably don't know what that is, but they teach you that. And it's full color. It's just a nice textbook. So honestly, if you just pick one and stick with it, you know, I think like the biggest thing, as I think you've probably heard this before, is a big beginner issue is like trying to do too many things. Like it's good in the beginning to have a lot of options of resources so that you can figure out what works for you. But once you figure out what works for you, you need to stick with it, because if you keep jumping around, you're going to be kind of stalling your progress, right? And you're going to be like unlearning things and relearning things. And yeah, it's just stick with one. So Tobira, Genki, pick one and stick with it. I think from what I had, I can't talk today, sorry. What I did in Tobira, I found really good. It's a great textbook. I also really like the accompanying materials that it comes with. There's a full like video on explanation of grammar points by a teacher. That is great. There's listening exercises on their website. Genki has that as well on a phone app, and it's pretty good. Tobita is just very dense, man. Like it teaches you a lot of stuff really quickly. It's also a more, I don't know if I would say comprehensive book, but it takes a longer, I think, to do than Genki. I found that the activities in the book were just extensive. There's also 2 workbooks, and the workbook chapters are really long. So it's great practice, but it's a lot to get through. The other downside to Tobita is that there aren't a lot of resources for it. Now, granted, like if you get confused on a grammar point or something, you should be using a few extra resources to, you shouldn't just be learning in your textbook and shutting out everything other than your textbook. It's always good if maybe you need more clarification or just want to see how someone else explains something to look it up. But what I mean is resources and teaching something that that pertains to where you are in the textbook. Like there are a lot of people that teach Genki and have Genki resources that go chapter by chapter, and that's very useful so that you're not learning things outside of what you know and you don't get confused with all this extraneous information. So I really think that's a good point for Genki, and for Tobira because it's so new. That's a thing. But really, Genki is like the tried and true, and I highly recommend it. It's kind of a wacky book. There's some pitfalls to it, but there's pitfalls for all resources. And of course, not everything's going to work for everyone. I love the way it's laid out. It's not full color, but it has like the cool orange color in it and everything. And I think it's just a great book. It's got a funny story to it. They don't give you too much vocab. They give you like maybe 50 or 60 words a chapter. You put those into Anki, or you get an Anki deck and you just drill them. You'll learn them. Here comes my cat she's not going to ruin the video, but to say hi. Genki is great. I also think that the workbook is great too. This is the workbook. I'm going to show you what it looks like. It basically looks like the same thing. I've done like most of this workbook, but there's just a lot of extra exercises. One thing I want to note, if you get Genki, this is the thing people forget a lot. If you buy this, you're going to do the lesson. Let's just say you're doing lesson 2, and you're just going through the textbook, and you probably have a notebook and write down grammar points and stuff. When you're done with that, don't go on to the next thing, or don't jump to the workbook. If you go to the back of the book, there's a reading and writing section. And in the reading and writing section, it corresponds to the same lesson. So you go lesson 1, lesson 2. I think there's 11 or 12 lessons in Genki 1. That's where all like the kanji and stuff is. Probably not a good resource for learning kanji, but it's there. Make sure you do that. And it's the same deal with the workbook. When you finish the part in the workbook, jump to the back of the workbook, and then there's going to be a reading and writing section for the chapter you're on. So just make sure you do that. I like that. And probably like one of the best resources I've ever seen for Genki is Tokeni Andy on YouTube. People talk about him a lot. He's great. He basically, he teaches you the whole freaking book. He goes through every chapter, explains the grammar points. He gives you extra sentences and examples, teaches you a few new words here or there, but he really does a great job at explaining the grammar. So if you ever feel a little bit confused by the grammar, he's probably the first bet to go to. When I was learning some of the grammar in this book, I would just automatically, after I learned it, go and watch his explanation, and he would always explain it clear. And the whole thing is up there on his YouTube channel, Tokeni Andy, for free. Genki 1, Genki 2, and after Genki, there's Quartet 1 and 2, which is the Japan Times Intermediate series. There's also, for Tobira, there's an intermediate series. Now, I talked about at the beginning, I know this is a lot of info, but you can probably jump around and rewind and all that. People used to use Gateway to Advanced Japanese. Well, they have a new series that brings it more in line to their beginning book. And I assume it's got the same sort of like look to it, full color and all that stuff. They probably modernized it a little bit. And that's their intermediate series. There's only one volume out right now. The next volume comes out next year. But just something to keep in mind. So anyways, that's what I do with that. Tokeni Andy's great. He has so many resources on his channel. Like I said, he's got all of Genki 1 and 2, Quartet 1 and 2, tons of other videos. I think he teaches you kanji as well. He's got a kanji lesson. And he has a website you can subscribe to. Not trying to like push this or anything, of course, but I think it's like $10 a month. I subscribed to his website for like maybe 1 or 2 months just to see what it was about. And you don't have to. I think his grammar videos are sufficient, but that if you want to like throw him some money because it's like a very, very good resource. He's got extra reading material and listening and all this sort of stuff on his channel, or on his website. So it's really good. And it's not just him, it's his wife, I believe Yuki as well. So that's what I do for vocab. I watch the news, I do my vocab. Then I use WaniKani, which is another spaced repetition system learning app. It's a website, and I use that to learn kanji. There's a couple different options. The big two, I guess, are WaniKani and Remembering the Kanji by James Hasig, I believe his name is. And they both pretty much utilize a mnemonic system, much like I mentioned the kana that I initially used. Um, uh, and you kind of again pick your poison. Remembering the Kanji is a very big book. It's like 400 or 500 pages, and it goes through quite a number of kanji, well over 1,000. I think almost 2,000 kanji. So it does take a very long time to get through. I haven't gone through it, so I can't completely comment on the efficacy of that book. But I've done some of that book, and yeah, you need to really like take it seriously. Um, Wanikani is like I said, a spaced repetition system, SRS, let's just call it, and it teaches you the kanji that way, with mnemonic devices and stuff. And of course, some of them are kind of stupid, and but you can always make your own. But I just find that stuff works. Wanikani is paid. It's I believe it's $9 a month, $100 a year, and I think it's $300 for a lifetime subscription. It's actually on sale right now for 200. I would never buy the lifetime subscription because I don't think you would take longer than 2 years to do that. Some people say they take like 4 years. I don't think so. You have to do everything as it comes to you. One complaint of Wanikani is that it's very slow, but in my experience, it's very slow at the beginning because unlike Anki, where it's very customizable to your learning needs, the Wanikani doesn't let you adjust any of that. They do it for you. So you're gonna like do a lesson, do a review, and then there's gonna be like hours where you can't do anything. They want it to kind of soak into your memory. I will say, as you get going and you start learning all the radicals and then the kanji, and then they teach you vocabulary, it's gonna start to pick up. So I think the pacing is actually pretty good. Um, just to know, that's what I would recommend. Remembering the kanji doesn't teach you readings or vocabulary. It will teach you to recognize kanji, and that's the cool thing. Like these symbols that look complete gibberish, right? Like totally incomprehensible. Every kanji looks the same. You'll start to realize how they're all constructed, and they won't all look the same as much anymore. So those are my two suggestions. I use Wanikani for reading material. A really good resource is Tadako Graded Readers. They're like really simple stories. They're intended for adults learning Japanese, but they start out at like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old reading level, like really simple. Um, and there's all different sorts of graded readers that you can get. Some people don't like them. A common complaint is that the stories are boring, but they're fine. Like, how complicated can a story get that is using language that a 3-year-old would know? You know what I mean? So, um, but yeah, I like the Taduko. How is it? Taduku. Sorry. Um, I like those. I just like their format. You can go to their website and you can buy them, but they have tons of free ones, man. Like they have tons and tons of free ones. You can download the PDFs. You can listen along, and they rank them in by difficulty level, so you can adjust it to your needs. Unlike the JLPT, which goes from N5 descending order down to N1, the readers go from 1 to 5 in difficulty. There's also a level 0, which is like the beginning level, and there's also a level S, which is like really really simple, and that's good to read too. So yeah, I like reading those. It really helps. You learn new words. Um, it really really helps to read Japanese. I think it really really helps. And then after that, this is a lot, but I do a lot of listening. There's a lot about comprehensive listening and immersion. Like a lot of people say, I'm sure you have seen like, oh, all you need to do is immerse. I think that's kind of rubbish, but listening is very important. It's one of the hardest, for me at least, parts of learning a language, specifically Japanese, because they do speak so quickly. And for me, like I said, I watch the news in the morning. I watch Japanese like cable. I'm not going to tell you where to find it, but you can find it. And oh, by the way, for Tadoku Graded Readers, again, I'm not going to tell you where to find it, but you can find all of them for free if you look. You'll find them in a PDF. It's the same thing with Japanese cable. You're going to find it. You're going to get all the basic cable channels, and you just go and watch. And there's you could see Japanese commercials and talk shows and stuff, and One thing people say is like that kind of shit is useless because it's not useful to listen to stuff that's above your comprehension. But I disagree. There's a time and a place for active listening where you're listening to something at or just above your comprehension level and you're really trying to pick out what's being said. And of course, yeah, pick easy stuff like Japanese with Shun is a YouTube channel, Shun. Fantastic channel. He has tons of great videos and stuff, all geared at the beginner, all the way up through like N1. But he has like a podcast that goes through Genki, and so he talks and uses vocab from the lessons, and he has a couple other podcasts. That is a wonderful resource for listening. There's Japanese with Akane. I don't know if that's the name of her channel, but Akane Japanese, you'll find her. Another great channel, maybe a little like more of like an N3, N2 level, so a little harder, but yeah, there's some great channels. Yeah, that stuff is really good to do. Comprehensible Japanese is another good one. I actually found a playlist of like easy beginner things to listen to. And when I would find a channel I really liked, I would just subscribe to it. A tip I could use is if have a Japanese channel on your YouTube, like make a YouTube account just for Japanese, change your location to Japan, and also change your language to Japanese. You pretty much already know where all the buttons are and what they do. And a lot of it is written in katakana, so it's pretty easy to sound out, and you'll just figure out where everything is. Do that so that anytime you see something that's not in Japanese, just make sure you tell YouTube not to recommend that channel. And that way you can have a dedicated space where you do all your Japanese, like YouTube and listening. And I'll link those playlists if I can. I'm pretty sure I can. I'll link those in the description. So if you want to add those to your YouTube channel, and then you can find who you like through there. Yeah, that's really good. Like Shun especially is an awesome channel especially if you're using Genki for like beginner listening, where you can actually start to understand what he's saying. And he speaks slowly, but never in a like condescending way or anything like that. And he has other great funny videos as well. So yeah, him, Tokeni Andy, and Akane. Those are great podcasts, TV, anime. Again, I know people say don't do it because you don't know what they're saying. I don't think it matters. You're going to watch anime anyways, right? So just turn those subtitles off, or maybe even watch it once with the subtitles on so you just know what they're saying, then turn those subtitles off, and yeah, just do it. That's basically everything that I do. I know it's a long video, but yeah, I just thought it would be helpful. I know that there are tons of people that like don't know where to start, and I was, like I said, I was the same way, and I kind of found what works for me really well and keeps me engaged and interested, and yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know, or if whatever you use. Like some people don't work well with textbooks; they'll just use grammar guides like Curadali or like Taikim and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know if you use something different. And yeah, peace out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.